former President Trump, 53% to 45%. This is nationwide.
That say they're feeling cautiously optimistic. What has happened in the last half hour is my sources have stopped using the word cautious to describe their optimism. They are feeling increasingly confident as more and more votes come in, despite the fact that no battlegrounds have been called, that their theory of the case is being proven correct. And what I mean by that is the Trump campaign set out at the beginning of this race to expand the Republican Party. They knew they couldn't win with their old coalition. They had to get more younger voters, more black voters, more Latino voters, even by small amounts, to join their coalition. In the battleground states, they are seeing that happen. And if it does happen, it would be a historic realignment of the parties. Now, again, none of these battlegrounds have been called, but with all the battleground states now closed, the voting is done, except for the folks who are waiting in line. They feel like there's not much else left for them to do but watch and wait in an increasingly optimistic atmosphere, both here at West Palm Beach and at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump and his closest allies, friends, and family are watching the results come in. Savannah.
All right, thank you, Garrett.
All right, let's go with Peter Alexander now. He's with the Harris campaign in Washington, D.C. What's the optimism level there tonight?
Well, I think there's certainly a level of anxiety, at least according to some of the Harris allies with whom I've been speaking to over the course of the last hour or so. One ally telling me that, just look at the state of North Carolina, Josh Stein, the Democrat winning his effort to become the state's governor. That we were able to project a while back, but obviously not the same for Kamala Harris, at least not yet. That indicates that there's clearly some split ticket voters there. Some folks who will be voting for Josh Stein as governor, but then Donald Trump as president. Otherwise, we would have a projection already in that state right now. They say that is an indicator that gives some anxiety right now going forward that North Carolina may not be a state that they're able to win. If that happens, and these are all ifs, it's all very early here, that does again shrink their path to victory to 270. They really are relying heavily on those blue wall states right now. And one of those key states, obviously, is Pennsylvania, the biggest prize of them all with 19 electoral votes. I spent many of the last several days up there, and I was in the urban centers where the Harris campaign put a lot of its energy, including in Philadelphia, and particularly in places like Philadelphia, where they were sending buses up there to knock on doors to help swell the number. They're really relying on big numbers in places like Philadelphia and the collar counties that surround it. They need to run up the numbers among some of those suburban women in particular, the suburbs more broadly right now, and in Philadelphia. So that's where a lot of them are hanging their hat, at least according to the allies I'm speaking to right now. We're going to keep a close eye on that as this night progresses.
All right, Peter Alexander, thanks very much. I think we have a call now in the Texas Senate race. NBC News projects that Ted Cruz will retain his seat again in Texas. Democrats have taken some big swings in recent years in Texas, but unable to land a haymaker. Colin Allred will come up short tonight in his bid to unseat Ted Cruz.
Let's go to Chuck on this because, Texas is the white whale for Democrats. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic campaign committee threw money in Texas late in the game, thinking maybe there was something going on there. Texas has a very restrictive abortion ban, as we know.
The Democratic Party went way late into both of those two races. They sent a signal to donors for a year and a half. We're not going to bother with Texas and Florida. They're too expensive to do, and they had too many incumbents to defend in Ohio and Pennsylvania and all of that. Then Allred just kept hanging around. So they thought maybe late money, but this is, you don't just flip this, notice we haven't seen any big flips tonight in general. You don't just flip a state in 3 weeks. You don't just show up in 3 weeks and think magically things are going to happen. Not with how embedded, not with how nationalized our conversation is, not with how polarized we are. And this is a case where at some point the Democratic Party, if they're serious about Texas, they're going to spend 4 years there. You can't just do it in 4 weeks. And it's the same story we just talked about in Florida. And this is the difference. Again, I go back. The Republican Party for the last 4 years has been much more aggressive. You heard Garrett talk about it, and the Trump campaign is flexing its muscles because it worked. They had massive voter registration campaigns for the last 3 years, and it has padded them. It's what Texas, look, Republicans got stronger in Texas. I mean, that Latino vote in Texas, when you've got over 60% Latino men moving in Texas towards the Republicans, that's realignment. That is realignment that's happening.
And I think we have another Senate call to make now in the, I believe, in the state of Maryland. NBC News projects that in Maryland, Angela also Brooks will win. And there's against Larry Hogan, former governor, difference 171,000 votes there.
So here's the Senate at this hour. The Republicans have picked up 1 seat. They need to pick up 2 to take control of the Senate. And the ones hanging in the balance right now in terms of that are Ohio, Sherrod Brown in the fight for his political career in Ohio. We've got Michigan we're watching, Alyssa Slotkin trying to hold on to that seat after her retirement there.
And Montana would be the flip. If it flips, that would give Republicans control of the Senate. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Montana and Ohio are the two, if you are Republicans, that you're watching quite closely to see if they can flip those states. I do think it's notable when you think about the realignment that Chuck is talking about. You think about the state of Pennsylvania, the Latino voters, the split there, the fact that what Trump is running on, remember, is his first day in office to start a mass deportation plan. A lot of folks have asked him for details about what would that actually look like. He has not given them, but it is notable that he's increased his support based on what we're seeing so far amongst Latino voters, that is something that has resonated with them. Democrats making that late play to try to win them back, and so far, based on what we're seeing, didn't work.
And yet the exit polling also shows that more people do not want to see immigrants deported if they are here illegally here. They want to see a pathway to legal immigration here, which is another nugget we got from the exit poll. So interesting dynamics at play on this issue.
All right, let's go over to Tom Yamas. He's got the big board going, and the state of Iowa, which has been of intrigue since a Saturday night surprise with the poll.
It was a huge question mark. If you woke up on Sunday and you watched Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, it was a huge headline, right? People woke up on Sunday, and according to the Des Moines Register poll, Harris was up by 3 points within the margin of error. The politics desk just pointed this out to me. Let's dig in because we have some voting data now. 45% of the vote is in, but let's look at Polk County. This is the biggest county, the most people. This is Des Moines, the capital here. So she's on top, 55% to 43%, 94% of the votes in. But look at Trump's margins. Trump's actually doing better than he did in 2020. Let's go over here.